Well, I've been thinking about stuff. So let's chat. Good to have you here. On Sundays, I often have one small Negroni as I'm making Sunday dinner. I remember seeing online not too long ago a post saying that someone thought the Negroni was the most disgusting drink they had ever encountered, and they can't understand why anybody likes it. And then someone in the comments was like, I know, right? Like, when someone says they like that drink, I think, what hurt you? What hurt me? Everything. But I'm still here, baby. And so, I make my Negroni and I listen to Frank Sinatra because he is the man, and he is on my list of artists I wish I could have seen live in concert, but it's too damn late. And also on that same playlist with Frank and my other favorite crooners is Bobby Darin. Bobby Darin, who became my boyfriend. Not because of his looks. I mean, he looks fine, but no. He is my boyfriend because of that voice and that swagger. Oh my God. And one day I thought, oh, I love Bobby Darin. I'm going to look him up on Wikipedia. And Bobby Darin didn't live to be very old. And then I was depressed, but never mind about that. No Mac the Knife, though. I do not like that song. So anyways, I make my Negroni in my cocktail shaker and I stir it with a special butter knife. This particular knife came from a restaurant chain that makes what used to be amazing charbroiled chicken. But they cheap out on everything nowadays, and I'm not quite sure how they make it now. That knife from the restaurant I inherited, shall we say, as part of a small handful of cutlery that was my Polish grandmother's. And I use that knife to stir my cocktail because it's frigging hilarious. Grandma, why did you have that knife? With the logo etched into the stainless steel and everything. Did you swipe that from the restaurant? I wish I knew, but she's not around, so it's a mystery. So, I make my one little cocktail and I listen to my crooners and I flutter about the kitchen tending to steaming pots with my apron that my mom made on. And I kind of go on autopilot and I think about stuff. And lately, I've been thinking about concerts. I've been thinking about this for a while, actually. And I have been thinking that I'm not sure how I actually really feel about concerts. I think I like concerts, but I also think I may not actually like concerts. I mean, it's really cool to be able to see these amazing bands and singers. But the logistics of actually getting to that magical moment of being at the concert, to me, is a bit of a nightmare. Let's go with the most recent concert I went to. It was Oasis, and I was profoundly grateful and amazed to even be able to go. I'm not trying to shove Oasis down anyone's throat or gloat in any way about actually managing to get tickets, nor am I trying to convert anyone to become a fan if they're not really into it. And I'm not even really thinking of Oasis per se. This is really just a module from the most recent event I've been to discuss the concert-going process and how actually insane it is. Especially if you're something of an introvert. Especially if you are a sensitive person. Especially if you are someone who really, really appreciates crystal clear details. Okay, so let's dive in. Let us time travel back to August of a year ago. Whispers of something involving Oasis start to circle. Something is about to go down. Something mysterious is happening involving a band that said they would never, ever get back together. A dream of reunion that seemed long dead. One of my kids is a big fan, and that kid was keeping their eyes peeled for any information. Let's cut to the chase so I don't ramble on too long here at the start, but you know what happens. An unbelievable announcement eventually is made that they are going to go on tour. My kid is keeping cool on the outside, but inside that kid is nearly beside himself Will they announce any North American dates? What is going to happen? Okay, let's keep calm. Let's wait and see. Inwardly, I'm also very curious, and I do a lot of thinking about what if? What if they do come to North America? I mean, this is already crazy. It's already living, breathing, never say never turned into, guess what, guys? Yes! So I'm waiting too. And then the day comes, and the post arrives online where we find out that yes, they are coming to North America. Yes, they are coming to Toronto. And be careful what you wish for, because it's happening. And it's crazy. My kid is super duper stoked, and I'm happy too. But there is also a part of me who doesn't say out loud, but immediately thinks, oh shit, now I'm going to have to try to get tickets. Because here is where we kind of begin. I do not enjoy buying tickets. Never mind the buzz that's already been created and the competition I could already feel emerging and beginning to grow. Never mind that this is so important to my kid who rarely asks for anything. And if I don't get tickets, that kid is going to be crushed. It's the actual process of acquiring tickets that, to me, is something of a nightmare. But I have to do it because, not to be melodramatic, I see this tour as a once-in-a-lifetime event, and I too so wanted to go. But the online ticket purchasing experience, I find it almost surreally stressful. It's insane. I don't even know how I managed to get tickets. Honestly, it was horrendous. I wonder if I had one of those blood pressure squeezy bands on my arm that day when it came time to buy tickets. How elevated it would have been. Ugh. Anyway, the day comes when tickets are going to go on sale. So you have to sit there like a dope at your computer for ages ahead of time, trying your best to be chill. Then they start a stupid countdown on the screen, which makes things even worse. And then you're able to click on the button that gets you not into the ticket buying screen, but into the queue. The frigging queue. Somehow, mysteriously, some little voice of intuition told me to open up 2 tabs to make sure to get a decent spot in the queue. 1 tab for the Sunday night show and 1 tab for Monday. Moving this little part of the story along, I make it somehow into the queue. Hooray! No. Oh shit, wait, I'm 13,000 in the queue. I'm 13,000 and something in line to even be able to get to the screen to buy tickets for the first night's show. Oh my God. On the other tab, I'm like 22,000th and something in line for tickets for the second night's show. Rapidly losing hope, but hanging in there. In the meantime, I can feel my kid all the way at school trying to keep it cool while having to still go to class. So I sit there and wait, elevated heart like a metronome. And half an hour later, my chance to buy tickets opens up, and it's a shit show. I'm on there, and I'm clicking on little dots of the venue seating map as fast as I can and adding them to cart, and constantly getting a message that my tickets have already been purchased. Try again. I click on new dots. I add to cart. Try again. It becomes frantic as I watch the available dots disappear before my eyes, and then suddenly, that night is sold out. Gone. Done. Finito. Oh my God. I don't know what to do. How am I going to tell my kid? That kid is going to be devastated. Never mind that "that's life" bullshit. Not in this case. Oh. But wait. I have my second tab. I still have to wait like another 20 minutes to get into the ticket buying room. Chances feel slim at best, but what the hell? So I hang in there and watch the clock count down again as my heart rate goes up. And then the moment comes and I'm in! And I don't know what the fuck happened. I was trying to get tickets for all of us in my family, and my husband is sitting there next to me getting kinda loud. Not angry, but loud, and he's all, "Don't worry about us, just get 2 tickets." And I'm all, "But I want all of us to go." And he's all, "Just get 2! Just get 2 tickets!" And I'm all, "But I want all of us to go." And he's all, "Just get 2! And we're nearly fighting, and at some point I go full headless chicken mode, click something on the right side of the screen and add it to cart, and somehow, some way, I got 2 tickets. Hubs had to text the kid who kept it cool at school. Dead cool, but wanted to flop. And me? I was fried. I was fried for the rest of the day. Do people enjoy this part? Do they actually enjoy the competition? Do they like the chaos? The thrill of the hunt? Because I really do not. But I got tickets, and I do not know how, because never have the odds been less in my favor. And I felt really humbled by that, and to be honest, rather mystified, because there were a lot of people in comments sections who tried and tried but could not get tickets. And I felt that. But Jesus Christ, could there possibly be a less stress-inducing, less adrenal-frying, less heart-squashing way to purchase tickets? It's fucked up, and frankly, it's not civilized. Okay, I think I've made my point about buying tickets. I hate it, and it sucks ass. Onward. So then I had many months to not think about my next unfavorite thing, pondering the venue and how the hell I'm going to get there. And also, another stressful thing, and there was no getting around it, I was going to have to get a new phone. At long last, I was going to have to get a new phone. Because let's talk about that briefly. I went to one concert in 2023, one concert in 2024, and this recent concert now in 2025. The 2 prior concerts were with my other kid. The 2023 one was in Toronto, which also nearly gave me the shits, but I will get into that. And the concert in 2024 somehow, miraculously, was in my own hometown. All 3 concerts had that same super stressful online ticket buying experience in common. It's just the way the whole system is set up, with the unnecessary artificial anxiety atmosphere inherent in the ticket buying process. So, back to my phone. I had had the same phone since 2019. And I had had it that long because A, it was a really, really good phone and lasted way longer than any other phone I'd had. B, I dislike getting new phones in general. And C, change can really blow. Oh, and D, I had what is known as a grandfathered plan. It was an old plan, and my monthly bill, though still stupid, was way cheaper, and they couldn't do a thing about it. I mean, I also had next to no data, so that wasn't the best, but I was loath to let go of my cheaper plan. But here was the catalyst. At the concert I went to in 2024, my phone cooperated just long enough to get our stupid digital tickets scanned, and then, while we were waiting in line to get merch, my phone shit itself and crashed. It had that icon on the screen that looks like a construction site sign for a disconcerting amount of time I didn't enjoy. And this brings me to my next point. I don't care if this is perhaps the most boomer statement I may ever make. I would pay extra money for a paper ticket. I'm going to say it again. I would pay extra money for a paper ticket. Because guess what, guys? If suddenly the internet shits itself and super glitches, how do you get your digital ticket? What if technology fails? You know what doesn't fail? Paper. Paper doesn't let you down. And then you go home with your paper ticket stub and you have a souvenir for life that you pull out and hold in your hot little hand whenever you like, and you hug it and kiss it and you thank it for being so dependable. I don't love the digital ticket. Let me dive just a little bit deeper into that. Before concerts, you get a goodly amount of email reminders to make sure to add your digital ticket to your digital wallet for expedience and saving time. Easy peasy. In the meantime, I also had the app on my phone for They Who Shall Not Be Named, the company who has all the power in live music land, and they have sent me lots of helpful reminders to make sure my tickets are in my digital wallet. Okay, thanks. Got it. Because I am me, and I leave nothing to chance, and I trust not the digital world implicitly, I check my digital tickets often. Like, okay, time to make sure nothing dumb has happened, and they're still there, where they ought to be, in my wallet. Okay, there they are. Get everyone in the house to also look at my new phone and my tickets and agree, yep, that's them. They're right there. Every time I open my wallet and click on my tickets, there they are, with their beautiful little barcodes, and opening tickets magically amplifies radiant light to shine over my face as if to say, don't worry, buddy. You may have had constant bad luck in the past, but your tickets are still here, so chillax, brosif. Until the actual concert day arrived, and I was at the premium ticket table, and we'll talk about that, and the lovely young woman trying to check me in is perplexed, because my tickets in my digital wallet have mysteriously stopped showing their barcodes on concert day at the check-in moment. At the check-in moment. At the check-in moment.
At the check-in moment.
She's kind of at a loss and mutters, I don't know why it's not showing the barcodes. And my stomach does the flop. Then the dude working in that check-in premium tent behind her leans over and starts muttering, No, click there. No, wait, let me see. Okay, you had to click on this. I have to lay this out for you guys because I don't like things that are silly, tedious, and don't make sense. The ticket vendor, we shall call them, sent me many messages saying, add the tickets to your wallet now to save time. At the point of check-in, the tickets didn't work from my digital wallet, and underneath them, in really small text, were the words, click to open tickets in Ticket Vendor, or something like that, which then opened the tickets in the Ticket Vendor app. And then they worked. I hate stuff like that. So we made it in. And yes, somehow I had premium seated tickets. I don't know how. I just clicked stuff until something worked. And this meant that we got a few little keepsakes from the concert, which was really cool. I had a little dream fantasy about having premium tickets. I confused them with some kind of VIP status, and I kept daydreaming that once we got in the venue, maybe that meant there was a special room or area where you could go in and hang out before the concert. And in my daydream, I imagined, what if my good friend Liam decided to hang with the fans and strolled in and we met him? He's not literally my friend, but I have this thing where some people just feel like my friend. I can't explain it. They just feel like they're my buddy. Is this just being delusional? Maybe. But I feel like we're all friends too. And I don't know. It's just what it is. So anyway, I love Liam because he's put out some very key songs that have gotten me through some very, very hard times. But back to the daydream. Liam walks right up to me and the kid, and we just chat like human beings. And then I would secretly give him my address and... Wait, it's not like that. I would give him my address and tell him that if he and the band wanted to, on their day off after the concert, they could sneak over to my house and I would make them a proper dinner. And it would be a proper roast with proper roast potatoes and vegetables and a nice homemade dessert. Because I figure they're at the mercy of God knows what food, and there's nothing for the soul like a home-cooked meal. And they could come to my house and even have a nap there while I'm making dinner, and I'd make sure all the blinds would be closed so no paparazzi could find them and bug them, and they could just have a nice meal and nice quiet break and be on their way. And that was my daydream, but it didn't happen. I wasn't eligible for any special room. Speaking of special rooms, do you know, I've been thinking about it. There's always a next level, a special room, a VIP this and a gold platinum that the average schmo can never have access to. There's always some other unobtainable level, and I don't know how I feel about that. But anyway, now let's talk about getting to the venue. Horror story for Karen. I have come to firmly know that I am not a big city person. I'm not saying I completely dislike big cities. I'm saying I am probably a hick and thus am not comfortable trying to navigate them. I find Toronto completely overwhelming. I had only just become slightly comfortable with figuring out the train into the great and huge Union Station in Toronto and finding my way to the concert venue that is literally attached to it. That was in 2023, and yes, I mentally shit myself for weeks trying to figure out how I'd find my way to that concert, but I did it. This concert had another level though. It was going to be at a brand new venue that they hadn't even finished building until not long enough before the concert itself, and it had a marvelous big city touch, next to no parking available for the venue itself. How does this happen? How does this go down in the planning rooms? Does someone who has the power and the means say, I want a new stadium right here in this suburb of Toronto. We have a great big unused piece of land now up for grabs and it'll be perfect. Then someone else says, great idea, boss, and we can build a nice parking lot right there too and... No, bigwig boss says, no parking lot. But that stadium can hold 50,000 people. Where are they going to park? Why, they're going to take public transit. There's a train and a subway station within walking distance. Oh, but guess what? There is also no parking at that train station. They didn't want a parking lot there, so if you needed to use that train or subway station, I guess you're supposed to park at a special satellite lot some distance away and get bussed into the train and subway station. I've said enough on that. But it made my stomach do cartwheels wondering how the hell I'm going to get to this venue from, apparently, Bumpkinville. I mean, it's not, but it was kind of feeling like that. Oh, but then the reels started showing up online after the first concerts there started. And I need to talk about this. Okay, picture a reel. Guys, it's so easy to get to this new stadium. All you do is park at this mall, take the subway, take a quick little 10-minute trip to the transit station by the venue, and then a short walk down the pedestrian walkway and boom, you are there and ready to have the best time of your life. And I want to say, meaning no disrespect, but big city people do not get it. They don't get it. They live in a great suburban metropolis that relies on public transportation. They have the train and subways, and they Uber and taxi, and it's just another thing they do in their lives, like getting dressed in the morning. But let me put it this way. The details in between are missing and taken for granted. I'm looking at this, and I'm screaming in my mind, where do you find the subway in this mall? What did she just do to get through the gate to go toward the subway? Where do I get a subway ticket? Which subway platform do I go to? Which line is the subway on? Do I go north, south, east, or west? How do I find the pedestrian walkway when I get there? I flipped out so hard that I had to take a break from trying to figure stuff out for a while. I was spiraling. I was totally overthinking it. I had so many plans to get there. Plans and backup plans. One plan involved taking the train and then getting a transfer train. One plan involved going to this particular giant shopping mall and trying to navigate the subway for the first time ever. One plan involved Hubs driving us to the train station nearest the venue to just drop us off, and then him going and finding somewhere to park for 7 hours, and my kid and I, the kid is technically a legal grown-up, but that's neither here nor there, walking for 30 minutes up the road to the town Walmart where we would meet up with Hubs after the concert. Not terribly popular, that plan. didn't look like the nicest street to walk up in the dark for 30 minutes, I was getting overwhelmed. Listen. In my town, do you know how many times I've been on the city bus? Once. I was a kid, and my brother and I decided to try it out and go to the mall. My brother was wickedly susceptible to getting car sick, and the 15-minute drive by car took 45 minutes of winding bumpily through town on the bus. My brother was going downhill fast. And other than that, I remember a guy getting off the bus at one stop and immediately drinking from a bottle in a paper bag. Public transit, when I was growing up, wasn't super popular. It has improved a ton, but at the time, well, everybody drove instead if they could. So this brings me to something I think about. The public transit websites for these big cities are confusing. I don't find them especially clear, and I don't find them easy to navigate. Big city people tend to take for granted where all things are located. They just seem to know. For instance, when I saw online that, in quotes, all I had to do was get off the train at Union Station and then hop on the subway, I could not find a clear answer on where I would literally find the subway. Years ago, I went to a concert in Toronto. This is like quite a few years back. We had to leave early, and I won't go into that further, but my friend and I had to find our way back to the train. What was easy and made sense in the daylight was horrifically confusing in the dark. I was panicking. We finally passed by a guy on the street, and I desperately asked him if he could point us in the right direction of Union Station. He said, "You can just go in right there. That'll take you to it." And he literally pointed to an unmarked door at the back of a building under a grimy light bulb in a corner with dumpsters. The amount of fucking faith I had to rely on in that moment. But we were freaked, and we went for it. And yes, it did lead us into the station, and somehow we flapped our way over to the right platform eventually. But once again, big city people just know. And that is not always helpful to people from smaller towns who do not. So this is what I dream about. What if there was a website created and propagated and built on cooperation? Something like Wikipedia, where people contribute reliable information, but it's a website for clear, extremely detailed instructions for public transit. Like, for instance, say someone has gone to a university or college and they had to obtain a school bus pass, and they break down a complicated, convoluted procedure by explaining how the pass works and looks on their phone with pictures and clear details of where to pick up the bus in a particular city, with a picture of exactly where someone stands at the bus stop and a picture and information on exactly where the bus drops off at the school and where you pick it up after your classes. And they do this so the next guy, who maybe is very nervous about travel, or maybe say is autistic, for example, will find this information, and they can feel a little less worried. Or if someone does step-by-step picture instructions of how to use the kiosk at the train station, where there's often no humans around to help, and then how to find the platform, what platform it typically is, etc., etc. And the site is built on voluntary offerings of clarity and information, and it continues to build. People who have to travel but are anxious about travel can search the site, and hopefully someone has contributed information in the area they are looking for. Crystal clear information. That would be awesome. In the end, we made it to the concert. My husband dropped us off as close to the venue as we could get, and we arrived just in time to see a whole bunch of venue staff making their way to start their work shift. So we just followed them. Man, that was good. Concert time. I don't get the number of people that don't go see the opening band. Okay, I imagine there are a lot of people who are late to the show for reasons beyond their control. But I think a ton of people skip the opening band because it's always been this kind of cool thing to breeze in for the main act. Yeah, if it were 20, 30 years ago. It goes without saying that everyone knows how overpriced tickets are now. So much so that, to me, it's kind of crazy to not see the whole show. Just saying. The concert was amazing. We nearly froze to death because it was August, but suddenly it was unseasonably chilly, like really chilly, and the stadium was a vortex of wind. But it was amazing. And then it was time for 50,000 people to find their way home en masse to the subway and train station. I thought after the concert it would be cool to take the subway and the train back to where we'd eventually then drive the rest of the way home. I thought it would be like Wales or England or Scotland or Ireland, and we'd all be buddies, and everyone would be arm in arm singing Oasis songs as we found our way to our homes via public transit as a new team of camaraderie and brotherhood. No, suddenly it was ginormous human gridlock of people who were tired and just wanted to get home. The kid and I, though, luckily, were leaving with some in-laws and a couple of their friends, who we didn't get to sit with, but we left with after the concert, and those amazing friends knew and were comfortable with the big city public transit. And so, after a very long journey, we eventually made it back to my humble little town all in one piece, and it truly was an amazing concert. But it was funny. After the unbelievable stress of trying to navigate Toronto, having to figure out how to get there, having to slowly crawl our way back to the train station with a ton of people, having to transfer onto another train, having to figure everything out, I did not feel stressed about a damn thing for the rest of the week. It was the last week of summer vacation, and usually I feel all the stress of my back-to-school kids before Labor Day, and all the stress of all the kids going back to school, and the general mental malaise of Labor Day weekend and the end of summer vacation. But I didn't give a rat's ass. I'd been to see Oasis, and I'd survived the odyssey of getting there and back. I didn't care about nothing. I didn't stress about nothing. After that concert, I feel like I can do anything. Nothing seems so scary anymore. Skills unlocked. It's funny, there can be things that are so far out of our comfort zones and feel so overwhelming, make us doubt ourselves, make us overthink like crazy, make us think we can't do it. But in the end, when we make it through all the hurdles and we reach those destinations, and especially if it was pretty fucking hard to get there, we can look back and see that the power was inside of us all along. So you know what? I think I do like concerts. Yeah, the process of getting to the end goal definitely isn't easy. But what is? Life is indeed short, and I'm not holding myself back anymore. And I'm not keeping myself locked up in my comfort zones. I did that for a long time. I invite you to do the same. I know, everything's expensive, isn't it? Concerts make me a little broke, but what the hell? I still made sure to buy me a shirt once I got there. And when you get there, my friend, wherever your where is, because I am rooting for you, well, you go ahead and buy yourself a little souvenir too. Thanks for being here. It means a lot to me.